What up, y'all?
Welcome
to the J&O Show,
where we talk about
Jill Scott and the It's Given podcast broach the matter. Does your past really matter? Is a past just a pass? Whatever that means. Stay to the end because they keep on dropping bombs through the whole daggone thing.
Yes.
Back to back to back to back to back to back. Mm-hmm. So it was a good conversation. There was some pushback on one of the clips too. So, you know, we did what it is that we do when we do what we doing.
What?
Right.
Yeah.
Roll clip.
Young women, be smart during your youth.
Okay.
Sorry. Because what happens during your youth will change everything that comes after it.
Yes.
You understand what I'm saying to you? Think about what you're doing while you're young. I know the energy is to be careless and carefree because you're wild and you're young, but what you do now does absolutely affect what happens to you later. Yes. Let me hip you to the science. The 20s are for working hard. The 30s are for working smart. The 40s are for working whenever you feel like it.
I love me some Jill Scott.
Yup. Now, I know she's been involved in some scandals over her career, which is, it's been a long career though.
Yeah. I was going to say, I think this is something that we need to speak more on so that the generation that's coming up now, this is something that they have in their mind and that they're starting to do. I think the problem is we didn't necessarily know that. It wasn't something that was taught to us. Like we were the start, I think, of this new generation where it's kind of just like, oh, you know, YOLO, basically, even though it wasn't called YOLO in our 20s or what have you, but it was just like, you're young, you only live once or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like live your best life. But I think that now that we're older and we have the insight and the foresight, I think it's up to us to be able to put that narrative out there to the younger generation, to the people in their 20s and the people that are coming up that will be in their 20s soon, to understand that, yes, it's the time for you to be able to figure things out, but that's it. You have to work to figure the things out. You can't just do what you want or just live carelessly. Like you have to live with intent. You need to be on your purpose or trying to figure out what your purpose is. Now, the earlier or the younger basically you are, you want to figure out what that is and cultivate it. Just like she said, in your 20s is the time for you to be working hard. That's when you're setting the foundation for the rest of your life.
Because this is the channel by married people,
for married people,
and for people who want to be married. That is a big part of the equation. You do have to figure out what you want from your life when it comes to a husband and kids. Doing it early is better because that affects whether or not you can have children or the health of your children. The younger that you have them, the closer you are to them early 20s, the better. So if you know that that's something you want, that's something that you might have to worry about getting in place. And we all know that having a nuclear family is the best situation for a child to be in. So you have to establish that younger, and it takes time to find somebody and to get to know them and to vet them and then get married to them and then actually have kids with them.
Right.
And then where does your career land as you're setting all of that up? This is something that you have to figure out. I know that it's popular for people to believe that you can just have your kids when you're 40, but statistically, I just found out that people start having issues with bearing children when they're in their 30s. And they said 1 in 3 couples that are 30 and over have issues bearing children.
That's just wrong.
Not 35, because
That's
after
crazy.
35 is considered a geriatric pregnancy. So that means it's very difficult. IVF is 10 to 14,000 per round. And that's if it takes. So everybody's like, I just freeze my eggs. Yeah, as long as you got the 14 G's to actually go through the process for every egg. Yeah. And that's if it takes, because they don't all take.
Yeah.
So we're putting ourselves into a situation where we're ignoring biology, thinking that we can do everything. That is not true. I just want to give y'all this information. Whatever you decide to do is up to you. If you think a career is good and you don't want to have no kids, that's fine. But at least know this.
Yeah.
And then if you're 30 and you decide, you know what, I think I really want kids, know that you just shot yourself in the foot and you made it very difficult for you to have that. So try to figure that, all of that. If you can get all of that in your 20s, bruh, you ahead of the game.
Am I going to see myself the way God sees me, or am I going to see myself the way the world defines me? Being a Bible means that you take accountability for everything that you do.
No, but then you try to excuse it and say,
it's not an excuse.
Well, God
no, that's not what, that's not, I'm not saying people don't do that, but that's not what I'm talking about. When the word says that you have been made into a new creature, when you choose to put old things away, you are now made into a new creature. Yep. New creatures mean new creature. I don't care about what the world says.
New creature to God. That doesn't make you a new creature to man, because we are not God. Here's an example, Anissa. Let's say there's a man, and this man has just...
Yo, I be hearing people say this all the time. Y'all crazy, bro. Y'all wildin'. Your past matters. And I'm happy that Jill Scott did what she did in the beginning. Your past, it does matter. I'm sorry. Because if you had too many partners, it's going to affect your ability to pair bond with anybody. Anybody who's trying to get married with you needs to know that. They don't understand a lot of this stuff. They don't know a lot of this stuff. So I get why people just act like it doesn't matter because you don't know what the statistics are. I get it. I understand. And the reason I know is because of this show. Before the show, I didn't know these statistics myself. But I will tell you this. Your past matters. I don't understand why we think your past matters when you're trying to get a house. Your past matters when you're trying to get a car. Your past matters when you're trying to get a job. It matters in every situation in our lives of any importance whatsoever, but not marriage. I'm sorry, but when it comes to marriage, your past does matter then too. You got anything you want to add?
I think you covered it.
Okay.
has just been doing his best to be a good man of character and charisma. And he has personality and he is compassionate and he wants to be the best husband he can be. And you know what? For the rest of his life, he's only going to make $25,000 a year. A high value, high earning feminine woman, would she look over him? Absolutely. And it's the same way that a high value, high earning masculine man, because that's what we're talking about. We're not talking about God. And this is why I get frustrated, because people try to bring God into it. This ain't about God. This is about humans. Although everything is about God. Now people going to be in the comments.
It's not about using God as an excuse.
Yeah.
Let's use me as a perfect example. Let's get real transparent, because I've been on the podcast before. You know, I was a mom at a very early age. I got married very young. I had twins with my husband, but I am now a divorced woman. A lot of the problems I hear is the Kevin Samuels of the world. I am not deserving of love because...
Nobody said that.
Well, don't deserve what I consider to be the best of what I feel like I need because of...
Okay, so here's the problem. What people say versus what you hear. He was telling you that it's going to be very hard for you at a certain age, if you have children, to get men of a certain status. Why? Because your statistics of getting them has gone down. Everything in this world is about percentages. It's not black and white. It's about percentages. Every knock that you have against you lowers your percentage of the ability to get men of a certain status. Why? In order for you to get a man of a certain status, you have to understand it takes time for men to acquire those things. That means that they're usually now 30, 40 years old. The 20-year-old millionaire, the 20-year-old who's making $100,000 is super rare. Why? Because the man who makes over $100,000 is super rare. I know a lot of people, right? Out of all the people that I know, I probably know 10 or less that make $100,000 a year.
Yeah.
Out of the hundreds, plural, of people I know, I probably know about 10 who make over $100,000 a year. All of us live that life unless you are one of the $100,000 a year and your crowd is a bunch of people who make $100,000 a year. But for the rest of us, we know that that's a rarity, period. Point blank, period. But then now you want a man who's unmarried, who's young enough, who looks a certain way, and who makes a certain amount of money. Percentages. It's not even about you deserving. It's about with your percentages. By the time you take out the men who are straight, not married, in a position where they're actually looking for a woman to be married to in the first place, because a lot of men in that position don't want to be married. They want all of y'all at the same time.
You're just greedy.
By the time you take the percentages, it's already a low percentage of people that are even in that category. But then you got to find one who's available who would actually want to be settled down. And then you have to find a person who wants all of that stuff and then is going to choose you and the baggage you have over a young 25-year-old girl who has no children.
Right.
So what people say and what you hear, that's another issue with this whole thing.
Because of the fact that I used to be a wife and I was a mom. Like, I was a child of...
Whoa!
I've never had a father in my life.
So let's use you.
Yeah, use me as an example.
So here's an example. Real talk, Anissa.
Yeah, that was whoa.
Oh, man. Whoa.
How we going to skip over that?
That was whoa.
You want to take that one?
I mean, it's like, really, what can you say? I mean...
The only thing I can say, if you think your past don't matter and that's a part of your past, you are nuts.
That's crazy talk.
Yes, because
that's going to affect your relationship.
Hello? Wow. That's sad.
I hope that dude in jail, whoever that was.
Yeah.
You're stunning. Beautiful woman.
Thank you, girl.
You have 4 children. You've been married, now you're divorced.
Yes.
4 children. Real talk. I know how amazing you are. Woman of God. You have a past. The truth of the matter is, when you chose to have 4 children, the amount of men, because there's already a small amount of high value, high earning masculine men. Small amount. Now, the small amount of masculine, high value, high earning men that are willing to take on children from another man or multiple men wouldn't choose that. So now the pool is smaller.
Right.
Now, does that mean you don't deserve love? No, absolutely not. Does that mean you don't get to have an epic love story? No, absolutely not.
Right.
No one is saying that. You get to have exactly what it is that you want to have. However, there are decisions that you made in the past that now are going to affect your future.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not saying I don't accept
That's just the real. But you know what people do? People say, well, God says that I am beautifully and wonderfully made and I am a new creature. And just because I have kids, I deserve the same exact opportunities that you deserve. No, you don't. No, you do not. Now, does God have favor? Yes, you are favored.
Right.
So you might get certain opportunities that some people may not get. And then on top of that, when you're beautiful, you might get different opportunities that may not be. Now, if you were super highly unattractive and you had 4 children,
that's crazy.
There's no way that a high value, high earning masculine man, the one thing that was going to work on any attractive woman's side is that masculine men like an aesthetic.
Yeah.
So unless you're just super beautiful,
which I am,
most times it ain't gonna go. Yeah,
it is what it is. It is what it is.
And it's okay, but we have to call a spade because when we start to have those conversations, then healing actually starts to creep in. When we can...
Okay.
I appreciate...
Oh, gosh. Go.
No, I was just going to say, I appreciate what she's saying and how she's separating the two, because I think a lot of times that's what it is. And you said it before, what you hear versus what's being said, because nobody is saying that you are not deserving of love or that you can't have these things. It's just that you have to be a realist about your situation and really think about it really from the other person's perspective. It's just like, put yourself in that person's shoes. Like, you as a guy, if you've kept yourself for so many years and you don't have any children and you have your situation set up and it's like, okay, now I want to be able to start a family and I'm looking, you're going to want to choose your best options. And why would a guy look over a single woman who hasn't had any children, who hasn't been married before, because that's baggage, whether or not you guys want to admit it or not? Why would they want to take on that baggage unnecessarily? Now, if you find somebody or what have you, and you guys click and they're willing to do it, then great. But that's not normal.
That almost never happens.
If you have options, you're not going to choose to start off that way. Like, that just doesn't make sense. And I don't think a lot of people even sit to really think about it. Like, would you put yourself in that situation? No.
No, absolutely not.
If you have options, you're going to try to choose the best option. And the best option is going to be someone who is like yourself, who doesn't have children, someone who possibly hasn't been married before, so that you can start your nuclear family. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Just for perspective, for people who are coming from the Christian perspective, because that's where this clip is from.
Right.
And I'm going to try to close this off after this. God does not care about the things that you care about.
True.
Yeah, that's true.
God is not as concerned with you having a high value man. He's concerned with you having a good God-fearing man.
Right.
That is more important to him. So much so, if you really look at it, a lot of the people in the Old Testament that were men of God had a lot of money, had a lot of things. When Jesus came, that whole dynamic changed. A lot of people who came into the faith, they didn't live under like capitalism.
Okay.
They sold everything they had, brought all of the money in to the disciples, who are apostles at that point, and then they divided the money up against the believers evenly. That was the way that they handled money. So the idea of how money is handled after Christ came is very different than before Christ came. There's nothing wrong with having money. If your talents bring you into the presence of great men, and with that come great monetary value, there's a lot of responsibility that comes. A lot of us think that God is concerned with providing us with luxury, and he's not. And I think that that's one of the issues where she's invoking God is going to give me this because I'm favored. God don't care about you having money. God care about you having character. And most of us can't handle money. We just can't. We ain't built for it. So he ain't gonna let us have money.
Not if it's gonna cost us our soul.
And for most of us, it will, because we become self-sufficient and we think we did it. I did it. Me. This is mine. Even when God blesses you with money, he wants you to use that money to bless others.
Right.
Set something up so that you're blessing others. Build something for me, not for yourself. And because a lot of us don't have that mindset, he ain't gonna give us that. That's not what he wants for us anyway. That's why most of us don't have it. So I just wanted to put that out there because I've heard this argument before. Yes. All of this just to say your past, it definitely matters because it will affect your future in every aspect that it possibly can.
All right, guys, quick health tip or health nugget. So in honor of scoliosis, because the month of June is Scoliosis Awareness Month. And for those of you who may or may not know, who've been rocking with us, our daughter has scoliosis. You can check the links down below for more information on that. But a little tip that I wanted to give is basically for your children. Definitely let them get outside to get plenty of vitamin D from the sun this summer. I don't want to say it's linked, but definitively linked, but there is speculation that a lack of vitamin D specifically might be linked to idiopathic scoliosis. Idiopathic means basically they don't know the cause of it. That's what it means, okay? But that's what they call it. Idiopathic scoliosis means they don't know the root cause, but there is speculation that a vitamin D deficiency may be the cause of that. But regardless of whether or not it is or it isn't, vitamin D is good for you, okay? So make sure you go outside, get you some good vitamin D for your kids. Let them play outside, get off the tablets, get off the phones, all the gadgets and everything like that, and let them go play like they used to do back in the day until the street light come on, okay? All right, guys. Well, if you made it this far, go ahead and smash that subscribe button, turn on your post notifications, and give us a thumbs up so that way you can tell YouTube you appreciate what we're putting down.
What we're putting down.
Hey everybody, down in the description, there are 2 links.
One is to a GoFundMe, and the other one is to a video that explains what the GoFundMe is for. Mm-hmm. Long story short, we have a medical situation with our daughter that we have to pay for everything out of pocket, and we could really use you guys' help. If you have the time, we'd love for you to go check it out. If you have the money, the funds, we'd love for you guys to help. If not, maybe you could send a link to somebody else who can help. We thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Press the out button.